next thing to do is just to apply those triads over songs. Okay, now before we do that, there's one thing I want to explain. Just as there are two common types of triads, major and minor, then there's the less common diminished triad and the even less common still augmented triad. Those two common types of triads, major and minor. Okay. There are three very, very common types of seventh chords. All right? And these three common types of seventh chords are built from those two common types of triads. So there's seventh chords that can be built off of those less common triads, but we're not going to deal with those. We're just going to deal with those two kinds of triads and the three kinds of seventh chords. Those three types of seventh chords are major 7, minor 7, it's no surprise yet, right? And then dominant 7, okay? So how these chords are built, we stack our root, our third, our fifth, and then our seventh, and then it's a seventh chord. It's just that simple. Now, at this moment, we're not going to learn where to play the seventh. That might make things a little over the top too soon. But what we need to know is what triad fits under what seventh chord. All right? Now, it's going to start off extremely easy to know, and then the last one's going to be like you wouldn't have any way to know unless somebody's told you, or you examined a piece of music and made it really difficult to figure it out on your own. Now, the major 7 chord, what kind of triad do you think it has? That easy, right? It's pretty intuitive. Major 7 has a major triad, so a minor 7 is going to have a minor triad. Makes sense. Now, the dominant 7 would sort of be like a 50-50, if you didn't know. I'll just say it's a major triad. So, basically, if you see something that says C major 7, you play a C major triad. If you see something that says C dominant 7, you play a C major triad. So nothing changed. Easy. If it says C minor 7, you got to play a minor triad. So it's kind of obvious. Having it under your hands may not be easy if you're new to it. You go, oh, wait, which one was that? Or how did that look? Or wait, how do I do that in D sharp or whatever? If it's a D sharp chord. But here's a simple way to explain this. You play a major triad unless it says minor. That's the easy way of looking at it. All right? Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. That is absolutely correct too. I try not to say it that way because it seems a little convoluted in a way. Major triad with a minor 7th. As a teacher, when you explain it to somebody, major, minor, it seems like you're holding doublethink, you know? So, but you're absolutely correct, because I know what you mean. I think the best way to put it is major triad with a flat 7. Yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right, though. C6, it's a major triad, because it doesn't say minor, right? So what you want to do now is find your C, which is one of those 6 notes we memorized, and then play a C major triad. Now here's something I'm going to do. I'm going to play that third again at the end like this. I'm talking about the third of the chord, so that's the 2nd fret of the D string. The reason I'm doing that is because I just want to keep even quarter notes. We got the time signature of the song is 4/4, so I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? All right, now there's 2 measures of that. So we go. All right? The next chord is E7. So we just go up to our E. All right? And what kind of triad are we going to play? That's right, just major. And that happens for 2 measures. Now the next chord is A7. So, who wants to do the honors? You got it, Brian? Yep, starting from A. So that's the 5th fret of the low E. Okay? Now the next chord is D minor 7. So you find your D. I mean, how easy can it be? You find the root, which there's only 6 that we memorized, and any one that's not those 6, we can figure out from the 6 that we do know. Just flatting it or sharpening it. Now you find your D and you play one of the 2 shapes. I mean, you got 2 shapes and 6 notes to memorize as roots, and it's just that simple now to survive any chord. We're not playing with very incredible phrasing or anything yet, but we are playing well. I mean, we're playing all the correct notes. We're playing the integral notes. Yeah, so D minor, you just start on D, and you play the minor triad. And then it goes to E7. So you go up 2 frets to your E, start with your middle finger, because they're going to do a major triad. Cool. And then we got A minor 7. So we go back to our A, which is the 5th fret of the low E, but instead of playing the major triad, it's a minor 7 chord, so we have to play the minor triad. All right? So the next chord is D7. So here's your order of operations. There's those 6 notes that we memorized, and if it's a D7, we have to find a D. So, you know, that might take a couple seconds, but it's not tremendous of a task. So that's the 5th fret of the A string. And now we look at this D7, and now depending on how simple you want to make it, the simplest way is to say, well, it doesn't say play minor, so I guess I play major, and you'd be correct. It's a dominant 7th chord. Now, whether or not you remember the difference between a dominant 7th chord or a major 7th chord, all you really need to know is how they're the same, which is that they have a major triad. So for that D dominant, the D7 chord, we're going to play D major triad. And there's 2 measures, so I'll do it again. Now, the next chord is D minor 7. Now, that doesn't mean D flat or anything, so we don't want to be confused that way. We went from D7 to D minor 7, meaning D is still going to be the root. The only thing that changes is we went from major triad to minor triad, meaning we're going to switch to our index finger on that 5th fret, pinky on the 8th, ring finger on the 7th of the D string. Okay? So I'm going to do that again, starting from the D7. 2 measures of D7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 to D minor 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next chord is G7. So Dean, let me ask you, how do we go about playing over a G7 chord? For the G chord, our first step is, just as you said, to find the root, which is G. Now the second thing is we have to decide between one of those 2 shapes that we know. So that's it. Just think of it that way, to keep it very simple. First we find the root. Second we pick one of those 2 shapes. That's right. And G7 chord. Which of the 2 shapes are we going to use? G7 means G dominant. So it's not a major 7 chord, it's a dominant 7 chord. But keep in mind, the easy solution to this problem of which of those 2 shapes do I say, or do I play, is, does it say minor on the chord? It's just G7, it doesn't say minor, so that means we'll play major. So, one more time, the order of operations is 1, to find the root, 2, to choose between those 2 shapes, and the easy way to think of that is that if it says minor, you play minor. If it doesn't, you play major. Cool? All right, so that G7 chord is going to look like this. We'd start on the 3rd fret of the low E, and we play the major triad. And that's it. So I'll walk through the whole A section of the song. C chord for 2 measures. E7, A7 coming now. D minor 7. E7. A minor 7. D7. D minor 7 to G7. And then the B section starts with a C6, which is like a C triad, just like we did to begin with.